Okay, before going to the process designer, you need to know like what is the purpose of each and every component and how to like work on each and every component. Okay, so for our understanding purpose, so we can do all the whatever we are doing daily, we can put one common process app and we can do inside that. So for that, I am creating a new processor. For that, I am creating a new processor. The name of the process app is something like my new year process. So acronym is my shortcut of that. My new year process, okay, which includes all my stuff. So from today onwards, no, like whatever we do in our 6 o'clock session, I will include in the everything I will creating in this my new processor. So do one thing like you can in your mission no you can use different process app name so that like at the end of the sessions I can share this snapshot as well to you so that it will be easy for you know to like import it and you can also look into it. Okay, I'm just creating my process. Yeah, created. I clicked on open in designer. Okay, okay, this is my designer. Okay, when you open a designer you can see various options on the screen. Now we can see before going into building the UI, we can see like each and every option of like process designer. For what purpose we are creating like each and every option and for what purpose these components are available. Okay, so see here the left side items, these are called as library items. The left side items, these are called as library items. This is my process app name. This is my process app name. Okay, these are toolkits. These are BlueWorks live process. Next one is smart photos. Okay. In this library items, so first one we can go with this our process app. So while developing a process, you may get like chance to like create like various types of components, various types of processes like using some components. So how to create a process or how to create a service. So for that I'm just see here I'm getting some plus symbol here, so I'm just clicking on all. See here, these are the various types of services I can build while developing some process or service. So advanced integration service, some AJAX, some business object, BPD, coach use, decision service. These are all various types of service which you will be going to be developed like as a part of our training session. Okay, based on the behavior of each and every item, based on the behavior of each and every item, what IBM did is like they categorized into like various sub components based on the behavior of various types of element. They categorize it into various sub components. See here, from here I want to create some BPD. For example, I'm just clicking on plus, I can create a business object here. Or if you want to like create some BPD, you can click on plus, you can go with like creation of BPD. Okay, so based on the behavior of like each and every component here, they categorized into these many types. Okay, so under process you can see these four: business process definition, teams, some historical analysis scenario, and for some simulation analysis scenario. Okay, under user interface, that means which interact with the end user. Like in order to build a some UI for end user, we are going to use this user interface. So in this, what are the various components you can see like human service you can build, coach use Ajax service, some localization resource. Okay, in order to integrate with DB, or in order to integrate with some web services, or in order to do the integration with Java integration, or if you want to like integrate with some external screens, or if you want to like store some documents, or like someone has posted some message, you want to like you have to like receive that message. Okay, or you have to like if you are working on some advanced version of IBM BPM, not the standard version. If you want to like connect to an integration designer, okay, these are like various types of integration mechanisms which are available in IBM BPM. So for all these integration mechanisms, no, so we have an option here like for implementation. Okay, next for decision. Decision, like we can build like various decision type services, like something like a decision flow matrix or some BAL rules, and you can also like work on the like SLA. SLA stands for like service level agreements. Next one is data. So what are the various types of variables or business objects you can create? So this is like business objects. Next one is EPVs. We will call shortly as EPV. It is called as exposed process value. Like we discussed while working with the admin console. Generally, whichever it is constant, no, but it may change in the future. You will put it in this EPV. Next is user attribute definition. Next, some setup localization resource for setting the locale of a user. Locale stands for some long ways. Okay, next. Suppose if you want to do some integration, or somebody has provided you some logo of a company, so they want like whenever they run any screen, no, at the top they have to display their logo, and then only that information related to the screen has to be displayed. In that scenario, like you need to like import some design file, or like if somebody wants something has been code has been developed in the Java, and they said like okay, the code has been developed in the Java, and you need to like import into like a BPM, and you can use it directly. So yeah, you can import that jar file. So how can you import a jar file? You will import in the form of like server file. Okay, these are like various types of components, various types of items or library items, like which can be created, various types of processes or services which can be created during our development. Okay, next this about like process related. Okay, my process app related. Next one is toolkits. What are these toolkits actually? Toolkits are called as reusable components. Toolkits are called as reusable components. Okay, so what is the purpose of a toolkit? What is the advantage of a toolkit? For example, there is something called like some common services. Suppose you are working for some bank or something, like there is a service like whenever some request comes from the customer, there is a service called as generate case. Like somebody is generating the case ID. Okay, somebody is generating the case ID. So when someone generates a case ID, like again, no need of developing the same case ID in your processor. What you can do, you can add that toolkit here. Here there is a plus symbol. So whatever the common components you have, whatever the toolkits you have, like it will show all the toolkits. You can add by selecting on each of the toolkit, no, like whatever the toolkit you want, you can add it. So what is the advantage of toolkit then? What is the advantage is like it will reduce most of the development efforts. Okay, the projects can be very quickly can be completed. Why? Because if somebody has developed like most of like in your project they identified like these are like some services which will be reused by some other process as well. That means you need to build some services like that has to be used by some other process apps. So in each and every organization, if you see, in each and every organization there will be some team called as common component team will be there. There is some team called as common component team will be there. What is the purpose of this common component team is like generally they used to like sit with the BA and designers, so they will try to like discuss before something like project is coming. Like this common component team, what this team will do like, they will try to identify what are the services which are required for the new project. Is this some common services or anything like new services? So like they will identify and they will start building the services. Okay, parallelly we will start building our process. Okay, so again, no need of building this common services, that we can add that toolkit here. We can add that toolkit here, whatever the toolkit it is required for us, and we can directly drag and drop. That means like if you go into deep, like if you are like not at the initial stage, your account has been like started for around like it is for 5 years, it's almost completed like 2 years, then what happens, around like 70 to 80 percentage of like most of the services are available in the toolkit. So most like something each, if you are getting some project, no, like most of the services are already ready-madely available. You can simply drag and drop and you can complete the project in very less duration of time. That is the advantage of the toolkit. So what you can say, if anybody asks like what is toolkit, you can say simply as a reusable components. Okay, the reusable components. So when someone develops some common services in the toolkit, I can add that toolkit as a dependency. Let me add something and I will remove this. Okay, I'm just adding something. See here, it got added. So when it got added, no, so whatever the services it have, I can directly drag and drop, no need of creating again. Okay, so this is like how to use toolkits. Okay, so one question is like, for example, you are like okay, one question is like, you added this toolkit as a dependency, fine. So what is my question is like, while sending some deployment, these toolkits will go along with the snapshot, or again you have to like separately deploy this toolkit. Okay, for this the answer is like whenever some toolkit has been added as a dependency, no need to deploy it separately. Okay, it will go along with the snapshot. That is one thing. And second thing is like, toolkits never be deployed. Toolkits never deploy alone. Like it should always go along with a processor. It should always go along with a processor. So when we are taking some snapshot, so it will take a snapshot for this toolkits as well. So we can directly deploy this snapshot in the runtime box, maybe like SIT or UAT or prod. So automatically the toolkits will also get imported. No need of like additionally like deploying the toolkits. Okay. Anyway, like you don't have provision to deploy a toolkit. Toolkit is always go along with a processor. Okay. Next, BlueWorks live process. BlueWorks live process. As I said, IBM has provided some URL called as BlueWorks Live, www.blueworkslive.com. In while discussing about like our BPM introduction, I have explained you about this BlueWorks Live. So if you have like some valid credentials, if you have some licenses, you can log in into some BlueWorks Live. Okay, as I said, what is BlueWorks Live? BlueWorks Live is a some SaaS-based tools. Okay, SaaS means software as a service. Okay, SaaS means software as a service. Okay, something tool which you are accessing via some browser. It is such type of tools are called as SaaS-based tools. Okay, next, if you are having you build something, or your BA has built something in the BlueWorks Lab. Okay, your BA has built something in the BlueWorks Lab, and you want to just have to look into it, or you want to like use it, so in order to like develop your process. So if you click on here the plus button, this window will be open. And if you have like valid licenses, no, like you can connect your name and password. You can connect your name and pass like email address and password, like what with valid email address and password. So when you provide this information, no, when you provide this information, no, it will ask like it what it will do, like it will check for like your email ID and password. It will try, you can connect it to your BlueWorks Live account. You can connect it to your BlueWorks Live account. Once you have been connected to the BlueWorks Live account, so whatever the processes or services you have built there, whatever the processes or services you have built there, so all are accessible. So all are accessible, so that you can directly all are accessible, so that you can directly see it, so and you can directly use it. Okay, this is like advantage of the BlueWorks Live. Okay, this,
Jagdish, one question here.
yeah,
See, you're telling BA will be creating, right? What BA will be creating? He creates the documents. So when we connect to BlueWorks Lab, we'll be importing the documents, or like what
no,
exactly BA will create in BlueWorks Lab?
BA will create like a, like if you see some BlueWorks Live, how the BlueWorks Live will be.
Hmm.
So BlueWorks Live will be something which is similar to your designer. BA won't
Hmm.
be like developing any like code or anything. What BA will do, like simply he will draw the diagrams in the BPD level. So how you will draw the diagrams? You will draw the diagrams on the right. There is some employees there. After that, there is some manager is there. After that, like if there is something decision has to be taken. So he will put some gateway. He will draw the high level diagram.
Okay.
So
So you,
he will design the process actually. Okay, once he model the
hmm,
process model once he model the process, so you can use the same process here in your BPD. You can write some backend services, and you can implement the code inside that. So let me show
you
you that.
mean to say, yeah, sure.
So while creating some BPD, so I'm just opening this one, customer request automation. Okay, for example, this is my BPD.
Hmm.
Okay, this is my BPD. So the same BlueWorks Live is a colorful tool which contain like all these components which I have. So he will just simply uh, build the like simply draw the outline services. Okay, they will simply draw the outline services. So if this is added in my BlueWorks Live, I can just simply like see it as a reference, or if I want, like I can use it. If I want, like I can use it directly, so that like in the backend nothing will be there, it's a dummy. So backend I will attach some services, or I will write some coding or something. So like I can directly, what I'm saying is like whatever the in whatever the your BA has been modeled, you can use reuse it. You can use it in your application. For example, you are working with some other project like Java or .NET. Your BA is going to use some UML diagrams. Like is there any provision for UML diagrams to be used by in your process? You will just use that UML diagrams as a reference, but you won't actually really use it in your application. But here BlueWorks Live has provided you a provision to use in your application. Is it clear?
Yeah, Jagdish, you mean to say that he'll also have the BPM and activities, right? You same
Yeah.
notations.
Yes, right.
All this what you call is gateways and activities. What you call actually these things? Left side you told library items. This one in palette what we call all these things.
Yeah, we will call this as a drag and drop a component from the palette. What are the
Noise is
activities?
okay. Like
These are called as
activate.
BPMN components. There are like various types of components in the BPMN: events, activities, gateways, sequence lines, message lines, swim lanes, associations, data. So while discussing with the BPMN slide, we have discussed like what are these various types of components here.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, Next, coming back to our process app. Okay. So this about like BlueWorks like. Okay. Uh, if you have like valid licenses and all, like you can connect it. If you don't have that, so you can like whatever your BA has been modeled your process, everything you can see it in your SharePoint. SharePoint is nothing but common repository where all the project related documents, everything stuff has been put it in the SharePoint. So whoever they want, they can like take it, so that you can take it from your SharePoint, you refer to the SharePoint, or you can start building your process. Okay. Next one is smart folder. This is normal one. Like you can mark some, yes, favorites. You can make it the see how many today, change it this week. validation,
Hello.
all this you can see. Yes.
Just one question. Is there any way to export something from the BlueWorks Live and then import in the process designer?
Yeah, like see here, when I connect this, you will be connected to your BlueWorks Live. From there, whatever you like exported or whatever you have like added. So like in the toolkit now, see here, in the toolkit I can see something like system data and coaches. Similarly, under this BlueWorks Lab, whatever you selected there, so that is going to be added under this.
Okay. No, no. What I'm saying is there a way to export something directly logging into the web browser in BlueWorks and then export some file and then you can import it into the IBM process designer instead of directly connecting.
Okay, you are saying like something is there in the BlueWorks Lab, you want to like import
Export it
into
to
your
some
process
file.
server, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can connect to the BlueWorks Live and you can add it here. When you add it here, it will come in below items like this, so that you can directly use that. So if
Okay.
there is like explicitly some file is there, you want to like export and import, okay, you can export. You can take it outside that. You can import it in the form of like files. If it is some server file or a file or design file.
But the complete BPD, let's say there we design a BPD, high level BPD
Yes.
without any internal things, and then we can export that BPD and import in the BPD.
Yeah, export import in the sense like it will be added in like this. For example, uh, something has been added like this. So what you will do? So like whatever the BPD you want, you can directly call that BPD. You can use something here, some linked process, and you can directly call that BPD. So inside that BPD, you can put some actual implementation, whatever you want.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Generally, you won't get like a chance to like connect to the BlueWorks Lab majority of the cases. Why? Because no, most of the organizations may or may not have the BlueWorks Lab. What they are doing is like even if they have some licenses, they are like again like we are working on the agile process actually, agile methodology. So whatever he has designed at the initial stage is like a something called what we say is a rough sketch. It not with the actual implementation. Okay, it might be the initial understanding. Later, day by day, how our work will be there day by day, like the requirements will be getting changed, or like some of the new features are going to be added. So generally, like we will look into the documents which are in the SharePoint and we will start building our process. Generally, we don't really rely upon this BlueWorks line. Okay, it will be just used as a reference. Okay, so I worked for around like three major accounts, some banking accounts. So I never get like a chance. We like connected to the SharePoint. We have seen the screenshots of the BlueWorks line, but we did not use this BlueWorks line actually. Majority of the cases you won't use. Okay, next one is smart folders. As I said, like you can mark them whenever you mark as some favorites or change it today. This is for your reference. Okay, these are all called as library items. These are all called as library items. Okay, next, when you open, you can see something called as process application settings. What is this process application settings? In the process app settings, you can see your name, you can see your acronym. Okay, already your acronym will be created and this will be provided to your external system and everyone. Never try to like here you will be having a provision to change your acronym as well, but never try to like change the acronym or like whatever the acronym has been fixed by your like manager or something. Okay, leave it the same acronym. Don't never try to change your name. You will be having access to this process app. Never try to like change this process app or acronym. It will create many issues. Why? Because based upon your acronym, your external system will be starting like building some application like based on your acronym name. So if you change something, their code will get failed. Okay, so whatever in the internally whatever the BPDs I develop, whatever the human services I have, like what are the web services. So if they are exposed, web services obviously all are exposed only. So like by default, so I can see it here. Human services, some are exposed as some URLs or exposed as some startable services. So you can see like exposed BPDs, exposed human services, web services, everything from here. What are the exposed items are there? All the exposed items you can see here. Okay. Here you are having like various tabs like environment tab. Like in the last session, like while discussing about like environment variables, I said like you will be having like various in when your code is changing from one environment to other environment, like something is getting changed, you have to specify, you have to declare such type of variable as environment variables. You can use it here. Okay, whenever you set up some values here, so when it is deployed into like test stage, automatically this will connect here, and this will take values like based upon whatever the key values you have kept. Okay. Okay, generally like developers here, you need to write some documentation. Environment variables, you will definitely you will work on the environment variables. Next one is servers. Okay, like right now, like we are not dealing with like any servers, we don't have any servers in our mission. Next. Okay, next, what are the things you can see? Okay, here there is also tabs like inspector and optimizer. I'm coming to that. Okay, here there is an option like something called as save like so for example, you have built some process here, you have built some process here, or you are working on something, you are working on something. So like after completion of your work, you will just click on save, or if you type some control followed with yes is all will also work. Okay, this you know, for taking a snapshot. If anybody asks like what is a snapshot? So what is a snapshot? Snapshot is nothing but the final copy which is to be deployed into your runtime environment. The final copy which is to be deployed into your runtime environment. That is one you can see. Or else you can also say like the versioning of your process app is called as snapshot. You are giving some version to your process app. Yeah, like that is a simple definition. Versioning of your process app is called a snapshot. Okay, so this is like how to create a snapshot. Okay, next one is process center. Now you are in designer actually. So when you go to the process center, you can see list of process apps which are available. Okay, so like when you click on open in designer, you will be actually connected to the process designer. Okay, next one is inspector. When you are running your application, your applications will be run in inspector only. You can run your whenever you are running some application, so you know whenever you are running something where it will run. Now you are in designer. When you click on run button, it will execute in the process center server. Okay, during that time you will be switched to the inspector mode. Here you can see while running what instance id is created, what is that corresponding task id is created. Here you can see that corresponding information here. Okay, next one is optimizer. As a developers, we will never get a chance to like look into this optimizer. Generally like the architects, like they generally while doing the code review and everything, no, they will try to see here like optimizer, and they will try to like analyze the performance, and okay, they will check with various types of simulation analysis scenarios. Okay, some people will use it, many like some people they will directly check the code and everything. Okay, anyway, like while in our training session, we are also having a session for best practices and coding guidance. We'll tell you like how to like make your code as much more like perfect. Okay, next, here when you see some bottom right, you can see something called as server connection. Now right now you can see it is in green color. Green stands for some healthy connection. Sometimes what will happen, like it will be turned into some orange, or like you can see some yellow symbol. You can say like this orange or yellow is something resembles like there is something like a very weak connection between server connection is not that much good. Okay, even that you can work, but when you click on like save and everything, no, it will take much more time for you to save. Even then you can work, but you won't get that much of good experience while working. No, you won't feel that much of comfortable. So when it is completely red, when it is completely red in the sense, it indicates like your server is completely down. In such cases, you have to drop a mail to your BPM support team, like to resolve the issue. Okay, they will take care of that, like why it went down, and they will check from their environment side, and they will check the server side, and they will check like why it went wrong, and they will resolve it. Okay. So, for example, when you are working on something, you like always make sure that for each and every 5 minutes or 2 minutes, make it a habit, like always typing control S, control S, control S. Why? Because what happens, like from 1 hour you are working, you are building everything, you are working on a single BPD, you never clicked on like save. You never clicked on save in this complete 1 hour. Server went down. Server went down. So completely went down. So in such cases, no, in order to save your work, you did not save your work. You have to keep it your PD as on. Don't close your process designer. Don't close your process designer. You have to keep it your PD on. Whenever the server is up, then click on save. For example, unexpectedly or due to some issue in your machine has been stuck or something, then what will you do generally? You will just close, or you will go to your task manager, you will end up all the like PD and everything. In such case, like when you close your PD, whatever the work you have done from past 1 hour, everything will be gone. So always like make a practice, like while working in the process designer, always like keep pressing on control S, or always like clicking on this save button. So it will save actually your work. Okay. Now, okay, this about like overall introduction of the process designer. Okay, next we can go with like implementation of some sample UI. Implementation of some sample UI. Okay, I'm going to the UI. How to create an UI? How to create an UI? So here UI in the sense user interface. How to create an UI? UI in the sense user interface. That means which the screen which are actually interact with the end user. The screen which actually interact with the end user. Okay, you have built something like you ask you have like showing some data to the end user actually. So how you want to like show that information to the end user? Okay, on which controls you want actually, so how the screen should be look like. So everything you will build in this UI part, everything you will be built in this UI part, human service. Okay, let's like start with this human service. Okay, this is your first UI, or I can say like it's a sample UI. Okay, UI stands for some user interface. So I clicked on like finish. So what I did, I just clicked on this user interface. I just clicked on user interface, like I have selected human service. I have provided a new name, and I just clicked on finish. Okay, I can see like this is my sample UI. So if I drag and drop some codes here, if I drag and drop some codes here, code stands for like I want to like show some information to the UI, like who is the person actually. He is a manager or supervisor, whatever it might be. So I'm assuming that he is the user. Okay, you are building this UI. Why you are building this UI? To show it to end users. Okay, in order to like show it to the end user, you have to add some coach, like assuming that he is the end user. For example, he is the manager or something, or employee. Or manager or supervisor or whatever it might be. So this, for this user, I want to show this information on the screen. Okay, show some information on the screen. So like that's why I added a coach. Whenever I add a coach, assume that coach is nothing but some human being who is going to work on the particular task. For which human being, like for which group you are going to like create some UI. So in order to like do that, you have to drag and drop a coach and give some valid name for that. So this is the sequence lines, okay, which I can able to connect between like a start and end. So these are like nodes. Whenever I can select, highlight this, like see, I can see 4 nodes. So these are the nodes from where my sequence line can start. Yeah, these are the nodes I am handing here. Again, I am giving the connection to A. Yeah, fine.
You can select any of the nodes, is it? Like
You can select any node.
wait,
See,
hello?
yeah, you can select any of the node. You want something here, you can make it like this. You want
It's just some like output nodes, right? Like which all nodes gives the same thing, right?
all nodes will give the
Connect to
same.
one.
Yes, all the nodes will give the same thing based upon your design. Suppose, for example, you want to like connect to upper activity and there is some other activity at the down, you can use like appropriate node in order to make it like your UI much more clear. Whatever you build
Mhm.
in order to make it much more clear.
Okay.
So
And one
whenever
more thing, Jagdish.
yes,
See, in you when you clicked on user interface, we saw three things, right? Like human task and again coach you something, I think coach you.
yes. So whenever I
So
click
all
on
are.
so Kochi is
Mhm,
something like a reusable template. This is a new feature which is added in the 8 versions. Like what is this Kochi like? As I said, something like toolkits here, some reusable. Kochi is also something you can say like a reusable template. Where can reuse it? Once someone has developed that UI, you can reuse it here. So that is like you
mhm,
will be using as a part of this human service. Next one is Ajax service. If you want to implement some Ajax functionality in your process app, like you can implement the Ajax functionality. This is like localization resource, which is used like to changing the language settings and all.
mhm. Okay.
Okay, for end user, suppose you are assuming like if some user of like some other country has logged in, for example he belongs to some country called as some Spanish or something Germany, like it has to be everything has to be changed into his language. For that user, like you can set some local settings and you can, okay. So okay, this is when I created some simple UI, drag and drop a coach, I can see like this. Next one is like variable session. So see here, uh, you can go with like first one, overview tab. Okay, you can see something here in overview tab. Always it is a best practice, always it is a best practice to document it. Always it is a best practice to document it. Okay, so what, for what purpose you are building this sample UI? Okay, so what purpose you are building, always you have to document so that people who are in future, in the sense like okay, now you are working, you are developing the project, okay fine, but in future like you may or may not be here to like provide the complete support to this project. Why? Because you may switch it to some other account, or you may switch into like some other organization later. Some of our your like some of the team is going to like handle your project, to support your project for production issues. In such scenarios, like they can easily understand whenever you are providing like some documentation here, whenever you are providing some documentation here, so like they can easily understand, oh, for this purpose like he has created something. Okay, okay, fine. Giving the documentation is a good practice. Here you can see many options. First one, like I can see like localization option, and that means for this UI has to display it in so and so long ways. You can directly select that local as well here. If you want to implement some cache here, cache means first time when it runs, it will store the information, and the second time onwards, it won't execute all the steps. It will directly take it from the cache. Okay. Next, there are like various types of exposing options. As I shown you, like whenever you expose something, your human service and all, you can see it here, exposed items. So here you are having like various types of exposing items. Okay, these are all like we will be having like some sessions in the like as per our training curriculum. So let's go with like diagram. Yeah, this is your diagram. So whenever you drag and drop, like whenever you are giving sequence, like you are getting something like okay here. What is this okay actually? What is this okay? Okay. Let's delete this lines. Yeah, delete this line. Okay, here you have like variables, fine. And this is my first UI. I'm not giving any like variables here. So when you go to the coach, when you go to the coach, so how you can, why you can see this coach? Why? Because you in your diagram you already added this. In your diagram you already added this. So in the coach, if I select this, there is some default button I can see. What is that button name? Okay, that means on submit. This is the OK button which I have in the UI. That means the clicking on the OK, it will make me to move forward. Okay. So I'm just renaming this OK button to some submit. I'm just renaming this OK button to some submit. If you want, you can rename it. Okay. So that's why whenever I give the connections, no, okay, this is fine. Whenever I am providing the connections for employee, when he clicks something, so only one button I have. What is that button name? Submit. This shows the button name. What is the name of the button? Submit. That means when he clicks on that submit button, what we are doing? We are again making to like connect to end. That means ending of the service. So I'm just, this is my debug button. Okay, generally like while working with the services now, debug will be much more useful to identifying like how it your data is going on. Like if something is like going wrong, like you can easily debug it and you can easily identify in which step of the process it is going wrong. If you are having multiple like scripts and everything, scripts and human services, many are there like scripts. You are having like 2 to 3 coaches, you are having like scriptlets, everything, no, like in that case something is going wrong, you can easily identify by using this debug. But right now I have only one coach, so I'm directly clicking on this run button. This is like debug button, this is like run button. See here, I can see this submit button. Okay, when I click on this submit button, my service got finished, my service got finished. Okay, so here I can add something here. Okay, he is the employee, I can add something here. So here I have like various items in my what you can call it them as controls. Here you have like various types of controls. So I am going to like select some of the controls. Okay, I'm going to drag and drop some text. Okay, so what I am doing is like I am renaming it to some name. Okay, I drag and drop some text, I named it as name. Okay, next I am drag and dropping like one more text. Text is nothing but where it provides something to you to enter. Okay, I'm making it a some designation. Okay, so if I write something controls like this, so when I click on here like run button, what happens? I can see that UI. Yeah, name, I can enter something, name Jagdish, some designation, some lead, designation spelling is wrong. Okay, this is like how to build the controls. Okay, for example, like this should be binded to some variable actually. Generally, whatever the UI you have, that to be binded to some variable. Then only whatever the user has entered, you can capture that information. You can capture that information and you can store it in the DB or you can pass it to some other activity. When you can do, when whatever you are entering, that should be binded. Okay, so in order to bind, so you have to create some private, you have to create some variables. Okay, when you click on like variables tab, you can see something called as local. Okay, these are all local variables. Fine. What are local variables? Input variable, output variable, private variable, and exposed process variables. Okay, these are all local variables. This is something like not local. Okay, EPVs, exposed process variables, and this is like localization resource. So how many types of variables do you have? Local variables, EPVs, localization. Okay, let's go with like one by one. So when you are going to create an input variable, when you are going to create an output variable, when you are going to create a private variable. For example, your service is receiving something from the external system. External system in sense, don't assume like something called as external party or some who is calling some out of the box. So sometimes it may happen. It's a simple UI we are taking. Assume that there is some other service is there, which is passing the data. Some other service is there, which is the passing the data. And my service, my sample UI has to receive the data from other service. So Whenever I am receiving something from other service or external system, I am receiving. When I am receiving, what type of variable I have to use it? I am receiving. So I am just taking that. So in such cases, you have to click on like add input and you have to create an input variable. You have to create an input variable. Okay. If it is like string, okay, fine. By default, it is some integer you are receiving, you can change it to integer. Okay. It is something like some boolean, you can change it to some boolean. Okay. So like it is of some employee details, some business object is there. You don't have here. You have to create your own. You can create it from here. From data, you will be having an option like business object. From there, you can create the business object. Okay, these are like input variables. Okay. Okay, when will you take an output variable? For example, what I'm doing after entering these details, I'm clicking on like submit button. After submitting this, like if some of I want to, if I have to send this information, if I have to like send this information to some other service or some other BPD, so like if I required to send this information, so in this case, I will use an output variable. Okay, for example, there is no option for you to like send this information here. I'm just removing this. I have an option here left to remove. Okay, suppose like you don't, this is the ending of your service or BPD, no need of like sending this as like output. In that case, I won't take any output variable. If I want how to like pass the information to some other service or some other BPD, then I will take an output variable. Okay, it is giving some output. So I don't want to pass anything, just I want to like ending up the service here. In such case, I won't take any output variable. Okay, whenever you are receiving something, create input variable. Whenever you are giving something to other service or external system, like take it output service, output variable. And like between input and outputs, that means between the start and end, between the start and end, you want to like to create some temporary variables, or between the start and end, like you have like some variables that you are not taking that variable from somewhere else, or you are not giving it to output. Just for your internal processing, you have to create some variables just for your internal coding purpose. You are just creating some variables. So such type of variables, you will put it as private variables. Such type of variables we can mark it as private variables. You can click on this add private and you can give the name and all. Okay, so what you can say, when you will create a private variable, whenever the variable scope is between like the start and end. Okay, variable, that variable, the scope of the variable is between the start and end. You are not taking the variable from anywhere, or you are not giving the variable to anyone. So whenever the scope is limited between the start and end, what I can say, like you can go with like private variable. You can go with like creation of private variable. Okay. Next, click on variables. Okay, fine. These are your local variables. These are your local variables. Okay, next one is like exposed process value. Next one is exposed process value. Exposed process value, as I said, if there is like something constant and which may change in future, which may change in future. Okay, right now it is constant, but it may change in future. Such type of variables you are declare it as EPVs. So where to create an EPV? Anyway, we are going to create in future, like from data. Here you are having an option to create an EPV. Okay, if there I am creating an EPV, how I can how that EPV will be reflected in my service. So here in the right side you are having a button for linking your EPV. On clicking on here, it will show like list of EPVs which are available. Right now no EPVs are available, that's why it is showing some empty screen. So it will show the like list of EPVs which are available. I can link to appropriate EPV. I can link to appropriate EPV. Next, what is this localization resource? If there is like something like language settings, or like you can also some like generally people will use for this language settings, and some people like in different organization may use it for like replacing of hard coding items. Like generally what, as per coding guidelines, what people will say, like don't use any hard coded things, but I have to write some hard coding like please press here. Okay, I will simply write here like please press here. So instead of like hard coding, you can also like make it some constant. Okay, that constants will never change in future. always constant, please press here. So you can also declare such type of constants in your localization resource. Okay, this is your EPV. Okay, these are your local variables. Okay, if you want to like remove, if you are like more variables, you want to like move up and downs, you can do move up and downs. Okay, so
Jagdish,
yes,
EPVs also can create like add input EPV, I mean EPV output EPV kind of thing,
no,
like private.
EPVs is not like input and output. EPVs
No,
is,
but
if you want to like send
we have.
EPV value to someone, what you will do, like you will
Mhm.
link the EPV, you will take a input and you will assign the value of the EPV to that input in the internal code.
Yeah, I understand, but that button is enabled, right? What will happen if I click it?
You can
Even
check
for
it
add
right now,
input
there are
also.
no EPVs are there. That's why it is not showing anything. If you create some EPVs here, for example, I'm just making it as some test. Later I will delete this. Okay. In this test, I added something called as variable called as some constant. Okay. So I'm just copying these constants. This is the external name. This is the variable name. Uh, this value is something 10 I am putting. Okay, just save it. So in my sample UI, when I click on link EPV, so I can see one EPV is already there. The name is test. So I can link that.
Yeah, I understand. But for this one also, we can say add input and output, right? That button is enabled. So that's why I just asking.
For this also, if you click on this add input and output, okay, this button is enabled. But if you click on like add input and output, it will create like private local variables, not like your EPVs.
It won't create. Okay, okay.
Okay. Okay. If you want to like remove, no, like a link EPVs, like if you want to remove, like you can directly remove this. Okay. So this is like how to create like how to link the EPV. Similarly, you can also link like your localization resource as well. Okay, this is about like your variables. Okay, can you tell me one thing? Like if the variable is in local variable, if the variable is some EPV is there. So like in terms of performance wise or like which will take like less time to execute. If some variable I have like which is referring to local variable, I have some variable which is referring to some EPV, which will take less time to execute.
Obviously local.
Obviously, local variable will take less time to execute. Why? Because EPV means it has to refer to somewhere else in the EPV and it has to you have to take the data. So in terms of like performance, what you can say like EPV is much more expensive when compared to the local variables. So like EPVs you have to create when there is something like I'm getting some backend. Vamsi, can you go on mute? Yeah. EPVs you will create an EPVs when it is really required. Like means it is constant, but it may change in the future. Then only you will go with the EPVs. Otherwise, you will go with local variables only. Unnecessarily, we will not create any EPVs. Why? Because it is costly. Okay, costly in the sense it is taking much more time to execute. Okay. For example, there is a in your code you are writing some for loop. Okay, for loop means generally what it will do you will be executing that for like multiple times based upon your condition. If there is something you got a chance to like you have to assign some EPV value there. So if you put some EPV value in a for loop, then what happens? If you put some EPV value in a for loop, then what happens? Your code will become much more expensive. If the code is executing for 100 times, 100 times you are referring to the EPV. So that is one of the bad practice. So like for example, before going to the for loop, you assign the value of the EPV to you, one of your variables. And in the for loop, if you put that variable, local variable, then you can say like your code is good. Why? Because always you are referring to the local variable. Local variable referring to the local variable, getting the value from local variable will take less time when compared to the EPV. Okay. Anyway, like we are going to discuss during our in coming sessions. Next one, coaches. Okay. Here I can like what are the controls I have. See here. Right now, like my scope is, I am assuming like I am not receiving anything from the outside. I am not giving anything to the outside, not receiving anything. I am not, no need to like giving anything to the output. So in such type I can create some private variables. I am creating two private variables. One is name and second private variable is designation. One is name, second private variable designation. Then go to the coaches. Then go to the coaches. Select the name. Here you are having an option like bind. So I'm just binding. I'm just binding to the input. I'm just binding to the, sorry, I'm just binding to this name. So select the designation. Make this bind to this designation. Okay. So I'm just clicking on run button. So I'm giving some name, some Raj, some senior software engineer. When Raj clicks on like submit, like who are going to carry that information? These are binded with name variable. This is binded with the designation variable. So whatever the Raj has entered, those values, I can store those values in my local variables, name and designation. Okay. So that's why you created these variables. Okay, fine. So this is like one way of creation of UI. One way of creation of UI. Okay, let me explain you like other way of creation. So how you created this UI? You drag and drop some text variables. You renamed that name and other with like designation. Later you created variables and you like binded that variables with this controls. Okay, name control and designation control. Okay, this is like one way. And second way is so I'm just removing this one. Okay, I'm just deleting. Right click and delete. Right click and delete. Okay. So initially I don't have any coach here. Initially I don't have any coach here. Okay. I don't have any coach here. So but I created my variables. What are my variables? Name and designation. I have created a private variable name and designation. So, like if I want to build the coach, no need of like drag and dropping some text field and binding with the variables. In this controls, you can see like views, advanced variables. Third one is variables. If I go with like variables, I can see the my local variables here. What are the variables? Name, designation. Simply I can drag and drop this name. So first letter will become automatically as a capital. Here first letter will become automatically as a capital. So whenever we are creating, we are following some naming convention camel case. That's why I have kept it as small letters. See here, name I got, designation I got. So when I see the binding is happened automatically, I did not bind anything. So this is the observation you can see here. So no need of like independently like doing like drag and dropping some text and binding. No, you can directly bind it. So how this is like you can make it as very easy instead of like drag and dropping. No, simply you can drag and drop a variable. So you have got the control along with binding. Got it?
Jagdish?
Yes.
So it's always a text only, is it? Like by default it consists text, or how it happens?
This view.
Yeah, by default it creates text. Then if we need to change radio button and all, we'll be changing, or how, like how?
See, by default, I have take it as a text, but you may have like various controls. Like you want to like create some drop down, or you want to make it some text area, or you want to make it as output text. So it will change. For
Oh,
example, if it is some drop down, so if I take it some list here, list means array, automatically this will get changed to some drop down. If it is some complex below, it will create, if when I drag and drop some variable, no, it will create me some table. So automatically it got created. Okay. Okay. This is like how to work on the sample UI. So in the tomorrow session, like what we can do, like, okay, this got completed, no, creation of local variables. Okay. explaining difference between when to create input, output, and private variable. Fine. Tomorrow, what we can do, like we can go with like a creation of teams. Okay, implementation of leave application, that will take like complete class. Like simple leave application we are going to build. Simple leave application in the sense, suppose you are the employee, you are having a manager, so you are going to like enter some leave, submit some leave. Okay, your manager is going to like approve it, or he is going to like reject the leave. So like there will be some process involved between you and manager. So like when you click on submit, your manager has to receive that information in read only mode. So you can implement that scenario, that leave application in tomorrow's session. Is it clear in today's session, or you are having any doubts?
I'm good with this, Jagdish.
Fine. Vivek?
Yeah, Jagdish. Yes, yes, it's clear.
Yeah, fine then. Fine. We'll meet in tomorrow's session at the same time, 6 o'clock morning India time. Okay.
Can you show me how to create a list?
Yeah, if you want to like create a list in the variable session now, you are having
Yeah,
something called as is list. You can simply click on this check mark. So it will be changed to string of type list.
yeah, but I changed it, but it's showing object. We need to associate some list also, right, with it? Drop down with
Yeah, if you
values.
want to make it some drop down and all, so like you need to like assign some values to this list. Like maybe like you are fetching some information from the DB, or you can also like hard code some values and you can see it in the drop down as well.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, like we are building, we are in our training content, we have some Ajax implementation. There we will be implementing these drop downs by selecting the country in one drop down. In the below drop down, the
Mm.
state we have to populate the states automatically.
Let's say we want to show a static list, like let's say only country
Then
names.
you
Can we map it to something?
you can show a static list, like you can just fetch it from the DB. Just see here, whenever you are working with some like showing some list, okay, we will never hard code like such items. Why? Because like you can show a static list, like you can put add some fetch from information from the DB and you can show it in the drop down. User can select it from his drop down. So user can select like his department, whether he belongs to IT or non-IT or finance team, from the various values in the drop down.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Yeah, we'll see tomorrow.
Thanks, Vamsi. Thanks, Vivek. We'll meet in tomorrow's session then.